nobody teaches you this in school. You grow up learning math, history, and how to conjugate verbs in a language you'll half forget. But nobody sits you down and says, the way you treat yourself in front of others becomes their instruction manual for how to treat you. Think about that. Every time you shrink, every time you say yes, when every fiber of your being screams no, every time you over-explain, over-apologize, or laugh off an insult that actually cut deep, you aren't just reacting, you are teaching. You are writing a quiet curriculum, one small moment at a time, and the world is taking notes. Worth isn't a loud speech. It doesn't arrive in a dramatic movie moment where you finally stand up and declare yourself. It lives in the texture of ordinary days. It's in how long you wait before returning a toxic message. It's in whether you finish the promises you made to yourself in the dark. It's in how you walk into a room where you feel uncertain. 7 behaviors. That's all this is. 7 quiet habits that people who are genuinely respected, not feared, not flattered, but truly respected, tend to do without making a show of it. This is about moving from being a puppet of others' opinions to becoming the master of your own soul. Before we go further, if you're done letting people underestimate you, type "done" in the comments below. Say it out loud, even if you're alone. You don't announce your worth, you demonstrate it. And it starts right here, right now. Let's look at the first foundation of a respected life. Behavior 1. You keep your word to yourself. Look closely at your life. There is a version of you that has made 1,000 quiet promises to yourself and broken most of them. Before Tuesday morning, you know the ones. I'll wake up earlier. I'll finish that project. I'll stop letting that person walk over me. These are small commitments, private ones, the kind nobody else even knows about. And that is exactly why they matter more than anything else you will ever do. Here is the secret most people miss. The way you keep your word to yourself is the template for how you expect to be treated by the world. When you consistently abandon your own commitments, when you let yourself down again and again, you aren't just building a habit of inconsistency. You are training your nervous system to believe that your word doesn't actually mean anything. You are telling your subconscious that you are a person whose decisions are negotiable. And that belief seeps outward like ink in water. People sense this. It's not mystical, it's observational. They watch what you do. They notice when your actions and your words live in different zip codes. If you don't respect your own time or your own boundaries, why should they? Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher, understood this at the very root. He taught that self-mastery isn't about discipline for its own sake. It's about becoming someone whose interior life matches their exterior one. A person whose yes means yes and whose no means no, starting with the promises made in total privacy. So, when you follow through on the small thing you told yourself you'd do, the run you said you'd take, the conversation you said you'd have, the boundary you said you'd hold, you're not just completing a task, you are building evidence. You are gathering proof that you are someone who can be trusted, first by yourself and then, almost automatically, by every person watching you. Keep your word to yourself first. It sounds simple, but it is the bedrock. Break it quietly, and everything above it shifts. Honor it quietly, and you become solid. This is the first step to becoming unshakable. If you cannot lead yourself in the dark, you will never lead others in the light. Your worth starts with your integrity to your own soul. When you stop lying to the person in the mirror, the world stops lying to you about your value. It's time to stop the cycle of self-betrayal. From this moment on, your word is law, not because the world is watching, but because you are. Behavior 2. You don't over-explain. Notice what happens the next time you say no to something. Count the sentences that follow. Most people don't stop at one. They give a reason, then a backup reason, then a small apology wrapped around both of them. And finally, a reassurance that they're not a bad person for declining. By the end, the no is buried so deep under qualifications that it barely exists anymore. It is a moment of total self-sabotage, masquerading as manners. Over-explaining is one of the most common ways people quietly signal that they don't fully trust their own decisions. It's a bid for approval disguised as information, and the people on the receiving end, consciously or not, pick up on exactly that. When you over-explain, you're communicating that your answer requires their acceptance in order to feel valid. You're handing them a small amount of power over your choices, and over time, they start to expect that power. They start to require that explanation. The Japanese concept of ma, the art of deliberate space, of what is left unsaid, captures something Western culture often rushes past: silence, brevity, the clean edge of a complete sentence. These carry inherent authority. They communicate that your decision was made with internal confidence and does not require a defense. This doesn't mean being cold, dropped one-word answers, and walking away. Warmth and brevity can coexist beautifully. "I won't be able to make it, but I hope it goes well," is complete. It's kind. It's enough. The absence of 12 follow-up sentences isn't rudeness. It is self-assurance wearing quiet clothes. Start noticing where you over-explain. You'll find it's usually in the places where you don't yet fully trust yourself to be enough without justification. That's the real work. Not crafting better explanations, but needing fewer of them. When you trust your own answer, the explanation becomes optional. And when you trust it, the people around you will trust it too. If your no requires their approval, then your yes is a trap of validation. The world doesn't need your defense. It needs your decisions. When you stop negotiating your right to decline, you become unshakable. It is time to let your actions be the only explanation necessary. It is time to speak with the quiet, devastating power of absolute certainty. Let your single no be enough, and the right people will respect you for it. Behavior 3. You let discomfort sit without fixing it. Most people are terrified of an unresolved moment. Silence falls in a conversation, and they rush to fill it with meaningless noise. Someone seems upset, and they immediately try to smooth it over with apologies they don't owe. There is friction, and they chase resolution. Not because the moment is truly resolved, but because the discomfort of waiting feels unbearable. They patch things, they soften truths, and they chase the feeling of okayness instead of the reality of it. In doing so, they teach the people around them something dangerous. That tension will always be relieved by you, and quickly, regardless of who caused it. Learning to let discomfort sit without rushing in to fix it, absorb it, or disappear it is one of the quietest forms of self-respect available to you. It says, "I trust this moment enough to let it be what it is. I am not so fragile that I need every sharp edge sanded down before I can breathe." It is the mark of a person who is not easily manipulated by atmosphere. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the discipline of not acting from anxiety, of responding to what actually requires a response, not simply to what feels urgent. Discomfort almost always feels urgent, but it rarely is. When you stop reflexively soothing every tense moment, something shifts in your relationships. People learn that the dynamic between you won't always bend in their direction simply because the air got heavy. They learn that your calm is real, not a performance, and not a fragility waiting to be exposed. By a little bit of pressure, they learn that you can hold hard moments without dissolving. That's not toughness for its own sake. It's steadiness. It's the quiet signal that says, "I am someone who can be in difficulty without needing to escape it." And the people who notice that, and they will notice, treat you accordingly. They stop trying to push your buttons because they realize those buttons no longer trigger an automatic reaction. You have reclaimed the power of your own presence. You have become the mountain that the wind cannot move. So, The next time the air gets thick or the silence gets long, let it stay. Don't jump in to save the other person's comfort at the expense of your own dignity. Let them sit in the weight of their own words or their own actions. When you master the art of the pause, you master the room. Your worth is not measured by how well you can keep everyone else happy. It is measured by how well you can keep yourself grounded when the world is not. Behavior. 4. You receive compliments without deflecting. Think about the last time someone told you that you did something well. Before they even finished the sentence, were you already deflecting? Did you say, "Oh, it was nothing," or "anyone could have done it," or "I actually almost messed the whole thing up"? You laugh a little, you redirect the praise, and you make yourself smaller than the moment they just tried to give you. It feels like modesty, but the truth is, it's rarely just modesty. More often, deflecting a compliment is a subtle rejection of the person offering it. It's as if you're saying their perception of you can't be trusted, as if their positive experience of your work or your presence is somehow mistaken. And underneath that, there's something quieter and harder to look at. A belief that receiving good things graciously is somehow dangerous, or that agreeing with someone who sees your worth is arrogant. But here is what nobody tells you. The way you receive a compliment tells people how you see yourself. And how you see yourself, they eventually come to mirror. If you consistently dismiss their positive assessments, they begin, slowly and subtly, to question those assessments too. You are literally training them to overlook your value. Receiving well is a skill. It's not about becoming someone who preens or boasts. It's about learning to simply let the truth land. Maya Angelou understood that how we show others who we are shapes how they see us. It's time to stop flinching away from your own light. Thank you, that means a lot. Full stop. No hedge. No immediate self-deprecation. No pivot to someone else's contribution. Just a clean, open receipt. The space of 2 seconds where you allow yourself to be seen as capable, worthy, and good. When you receive a compliment with steadiness and grace, you're reinforcing something true, that you're someone who belongs in the good moments, not just the apologetic ones. You are teaching the world that you know your value, and you don't need to hide it to be liked. Let people see you as someone worthy of their admiration, because you are. Every time you accept a win without a but or an if, you build a brick in the wall of your self-respect. You are no longer a beggar for validation. You are a sovereign of your own character. Start noticing your urge to shrink when praised and choose to stand tall instead. Your worth isn't up for debate, and it certainly doesn't need an apology. Accept the compliment, honor the truth, and walk on with your head held high. Behavior. 5. You stop shrinking in rooms. You know what shrinking looks like. You've likely done it yourself. It's sitting at the very edge of a table. Instead of pulling your chair in, it's lowering your voice mid-sentence because you suddenly felt your thought wasn't worth the full volume. It's preemptively apologizing for taking up space before anyone has even suggested you shouldn't. It is making yourself smaller, physically, verbally, and energetically, as a kind of social insurance policy, a way of saying, I won't take more than I'm given. The problem is, people tend to give you exactly as much as you claim. Body language is a language, and it communicates whether you intend it to or not. When you walk into a room like you're not sure you belong there, the room tends to agree, not out of cruelty, but out of taking your cue. You've told them, through every contracted muscle and apologetic gesture, what to believe about your presence, and they believe you. You are essentially handing them a map of your own insecurity and asking them to follow it. Stopping this isn't about becoming loud or performing a fake confidence that you don't feel. That overcorrection reads as its own kind of insecurity, just louder. What the people who are genuinely respected tend to do is much simpler. They walk in, they sit down, they speak at their actual volume. They let their presence be what it is without editing it downward. Seneca wrote about the importance of simply being, of not constantly performing yourself for the approval of others. There is something deeply freeing in that realization. To stop negotiating your right to occupy space is a revolutionary act. You arrive, and you simply allow yourself to be there. The room doesn't need your apology for being in it. The conversation doesn't need you to preemptively shrink. Take up the space you've been given. It was always meant for you. When you stop asking for permission to exist, you start commanding the respect you've been seeking. This is the Stoic art of presence. Not being the loudest in the room, but being the most grounded. Your presence is not a burden. It is a fact. When you accept this, the world around you shifts to accommodate your weight. You don't need to shout to be heard, and you don't need to hide to be safe. Pull your chair to the table, keep your head level, and let your voice carry the weight of your convictions. You are no longer a guest in your own life. You are the host. Act like it, and watch how the room begins to reflect the authority you have finally claimed for yourself. Behavior 6. You end things that have already ended. Some things are over long before we let them go. The friendship that runs on obligation, the role you've outgrown, or the relationship that drained to empty months ago. Holding on isn't loyalty, it's self-abandonment. It teaches people that your presence can be assumed, not cherished. There's courage in quiet endings, a conversation that gets shorter, a presence that withdraws. Release what no longer serves you, and you show the world that your energy is a finite, valuable resource. Behavior 7. You respond, you don't react. When someone gets under your skin, your impulse is to match their energy. That impulse is where you hand over your power. Reacting is automatic. Responding is deliberate. Epictetus taught that in the gap between what happens and what you do lives your freedom. That breath, that pause where you choose your words, is where your character is formed. People trust those who aren't moved by every gust of wind. Self-possession is magnetic because it's real. These 7 behaviors aren't about reinventing yourself. They're about becoming more precisely who you are. The version of you that trusts your own word, speaks without apology, and chooses response over reaction. You don't need to announce this person. They are lived, not performed. It's a quiet, consistent pattern that says, I know what I bring, I know what I deserve, and I will treat myself accordingly until the world does the same. You cannot force others to value you, but you can make it impossible for them to believe you don't value yourself. So choose one behavior, start there, practice it until it becomes your truth. You've been teaching people your worth all along. The only question now is, what lesson do you want them to learn? If something in this shifted in you, let us know in the comments. Just write, I know my worth. No explanation needed. And if you haven't subscribed to AION Stoic yet, now is the time. Turn on notifications, because what's coming next is worth staying for. Thank you for being here. Walk steady